The day my grandfather died, I stood alone at his graveside while my entire family pretended I no longer existed. Yet 24 hours later, they showed up at his funeral demanding their share of the $10 million he left behind. Leon adjusted his black tie in the rearview mirror of his old Honda Civic, parked just outside the wrought iron gates of Oakwood Cemetery in suburban Chicago. His hands trembled slightly as he stared at the gathering crowd in the distance. Sunlight filtered through the tall oak trees, casting long shadows across the manicured lawns. He had driven 5 hours from his tiny apartment in Indianapolis without stopping. The last time any of them had spoken to him was 3 years ago, right after he told them the truth. Maxwell had begged him not to come alone, but Leon insisted this was something he needed to face by himself first. His boyfriend of 2 years understood, kissing him goodbye at the door with quiet support in his eyes. Now, stepping out of the car, Leon felt the weight of every silent rejection pressing down on his chest. He walked slowly toward the gravesite, gravel crunching under his polished shoes. A few distant relatives glanced his way but quickly looked away. His mother stood near the front, dressed in a simple navy dress, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. His father, tall and stern as always, kept his arms crossed tightly over his chest. Neither acknowledged his presence. The pastor began the service with a gentle prayer, his voice carrying softly on the spring breeze. Leon found a spot at the very edge of the crowd, far enough not to cause a scene, but close enough to hear every word. Memories flooded back unbidden. Summers spent at Grandpa Harlan's lake house, fishing trips where the old man taught him how to bait a hook, late-night talks about dreams and hard work. Grandpa Harlan had been the only one who never judged. As the eulogy continued, Leon noticed movement near the parking area. Several more cars pulled up, doors slamming louder than necessary. His uncle Richard led the group, followed by cousins and aunts who hadn't bothered to call him in years. They marched toward the gathering with determined expressions, eyes scanning the crowd. The pastor paused mid-sentence as the newcomers pushed their way forward. Whispers rippled through the attendees. Leon's stomach tightened. He knew exactly why they had come. The will reading was scheduled for tomorrow at the lawyer's office downtown. His mother finally spotted him and froze. For a brief second, something like pain flashed across her face before it hardened again. She turned away without a word. His father's jaw clenched visibly, but he said nothing either. Uncle Richard cleared his throat loudly during a moment of silence. "We're here to pay our respects," he announced, though his tone suggested otherwise. Several relatives nodded in agreement, their gazes shifting toward Leon with open disapproval. The service wrapped up awkwardly after that. People began dispersing toward their cars, murmuring among themselves. Leon remained standing by the grave long after most had left. He placed a single white rose on the casket, whispering a quiet goodbye to the man who had once called him his favorite grandson. That evening, back in his hotel room near the airport, Leon's phone buzzed with a message from Maxwell. "How did it go? Babe, you okay?" Leon typed back slowly, fingers hesitant on the screen. "It was harder than I thought. They showed up like vultures. Tomorrow's the will reading. I don't even know if I should go." Maxwell's reply came quickly. "You should. Grandpa Harlan loved you. Don't let them take that away too." Leon smiled faintly at the words, feeling a small warmth spread through his chest despite everything. The next morning, the law firm's conference room felt suffocatingly formal. Dark wood paneling lined the walls, and heavy curtains blocked most of the sunlight. Leon arrived early, choosing a seat near the back. One by one, family members filed in, avoiding eye contact with him. The lawyer, Mr. Whitaker, entered precisely at 10 o'clock carrying a thick folder. He adjusted his glasses and began reading the formal preamble of the will. Tension thickened the air as everyone waited for the distribution details. Harlan James Thompson, being of sound mind, leaves the bulk of his estate, approximately $10 million in investments, properties, and liquid assets, to be divided as follows. Uncle Richard leaned forward eagerly. Leon's mother clutched her purse tighter. The cousins exchanged nervous glances. Mr. Whitaker continued steadily. "To my son Richard and daughter Elaine, I leave each $1 million, with the condition that they use it responsibly and without further family disputes." Murmurs of satisfaction rose from that side of the table. But the lawyer wasn't finished. To my grandchildren, with special consideration for those who have shown true character and independence, I leave the remaining assets in trust. Leon's heart pounded as Mr. Whitaker read the next paragraph. Specifically, the majority share, $7 million, goes to my grandson Leon Thompson, who has faced adversity with courage and built his own life despite rejection. The remainder is to be split equally among the other grandchildren. Gasps filled the room. Uncle Richard shot to his feet. This is outrageous. Harlan must have been manipulated when he wrote this. Leon sat frozen, barely breathing. His mother turned pale, staring at him with wide eyes. His father slammed a fist on the table, face reddening with anger. Mr. Whitaker raised a hand calmly. The will is clear and has been properly witnessed and notarized 2 years ago. There is also a letter addressed to Leon personally. He slid an envelope across the table toward Leon. The room fell into stunned silence as Leon opened it with shaking hands. Grandpa Harlan's familiar handwriting filled the page. Dear Leon, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I always knew who you truly were. Son, your happiness matters more than any tradition. I saw how they treated you, and it broke my heart. Take this gift not as charity, but as belief in the man you've become. Live freely. Love openly. And if they come knocking, remember, family isn't just blood. It's who stands by you when the world turns away. Tears blurred Leon's vision as he folded the letter carefully. Around him, voices erupted in protest. His uncle demanded the will be contested immediately. Cousins whispered accusations of favoritism and undue influence. Leon stood up slowly, meeting his family's angry stares one by one. I didn't ask for this, he said quietly, voice steady despite the storm inside. But Grandpa Harlan saw me when no one else did. I won't dishonor his last wish by fighting over money. He turned to leave, but his mother's voice stopped him at the door. Leon, wait. We need to talk about this. He paused, hand on the doorknob, heart aching with years of unspoken pain. The room felt smaller than ever. Leon didn't turn around immediately. He took a deep breath, steadying himself against the wave of emotions crashing over him. The conference room air felt thick with unspoken accusations and desperate calculations. His mother stepped closer, her navy dress slightly wrinkled from sitting so tensely. Leon, please. This isn't how we wanted things to go. Her voice cracked just enough to sound genuine. But Leon had heard similar tones before, 3 years earlier. The dinner table at their family home in Naperville had been set with his mother's best china. He had chosen that night to tell them everything. I'm gay, he had said simply. After the main course, when the conversation lulled, the silence that followed still echoed in his nightmares. His father had stood up so fast the chair scraped loudly against the hardwood floor. You're what? This is a phase. Leon, you'll get over it. His mother had cried quietly into her napkin, refusing to meet his eyes. Uncle Richard, visiting that weekend, had slammed his fist down. No son of this family is going to live that lifestyle under our roof. They gave him 1 week to fix himself or leave. Leon packed his bags that same night, driving away with only what fit in his car. He crashed on friends' couches for months before landing a job at a small marketing firm in Indianapolis. The pay was modest, but it was honest work, and slowly he built a life from nothing. Maxwell entered his world 6 months later at a local coffee shop. The tall, kind-eyed graphic designer with a gentle smile had asked about the book Leon was reading. Their first date was a simple walk along the canal, talking about everything and nothing. For the first time, Leon felt seen without conditions. Now, back in the lawyer's office, Leon finally faced his mother. Talk about what? Mom, how you stopped answering my calls. How Dad told everyone I was dead to the family. His voice remained calm, but each word carried the weight of 3 lonely years. His father stepped forward, face still flushed. That money doesn't belong to you alone. Your grandfather was old. He wasn't thinking clearly. Uncle Richard nodded vigorously beside him. We'll fight this in court if we have to. Blood is thicker than some handwritten note. Leon looked at them all, seeing the calculations behind their eyes. The lake house, the investment accounts, The properties Grandpa Harlan had carefully accumulated over decades. None of it had mattered when they threw him away for loving the wrong way. "I'm not fighting anyone," Leon said firmly. "But I won't give up what Grandpa wanted me to have either. He left it to me because he believed in me." Mr. Whitaker cleared his throat again. Any contesting of the will must be filed within the legal time frame. However, the trust conditions are quite specific regarding family harmony. The cousins shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One of them, his cousin Sarah, who used to play video games with him as kids, looked down at her hands guiltily. Leon excused himself shortly after, needing fresh air. Outside the building, the Chicago spring wind felt refreshing against his heated skin. He pulled out his phone and called Maxwell. "Hey, how did the reading go?" Maxwell asked, concern evident even through the line. Leon leaned against the brick wall, closing his eyes. "They're angry. Really angry. But Grandpa left me the majority. 7 million. Max, I still can't believe it." There was a pause on the other end. Then Maxwell's warm laugh. "That's incredible, babe. But more importantly, how are you feeling?" Leon smiled despite everything. "Overwhelmed. Sad. A little hopeful maybe." They talked for nearly 20 minutes. Maxwell's steady voice grounding him as always. When Leon hung up, he felt stronger, ready to face whatever came next. Back at his hotel that afternoon, Leon began making practical plans. He researched financial advisors who specialized in inheritance matters. He thought about his small apartment in Indianapolis and how this money could change everything. Not just for him, but for the life he and Maxwell were quietly building together. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. He opened it to find his mother standing there, alone, eyes red from crying. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. Leon hesitated only a moment before stepping aside. She sat on the edge of the bed, twisting her hands in her lap. "I never stopped thinking about you, Leon. Every birthday, every holiday. Your father, he was so set in his ways. I should have stood up for you sooner." Tears slipped down her cheeks as she spoke. Leon remained standing, arms crossed protectively. "Why now, Mom? Because of the money?" She shook her head quickly. "No, or maybe partly. But seeing you today at the funeral, you looked so strong. So much like your grandfather. It made me realize how much we lost." They talked for over an hour, words tumbling out after years of silence. She told him about the family arguments that followed his departure, how Grandpa Harlan had confronted them all at Christmas dinner 2 years ago, defending Leon fiercely, how her own guilt had grown heavier with time. Yet Leon couldn't fully let go of the hurt. Forgiveness wasn't a switch he could flip after 3 years of being erased. He listened, but kept his heart guarded. As evening fell, his mother left with a promise to talk again soon. Leon sat alone in the quiet room, staring at the letter from his grandfather. The words blurred again as fresh tears formed. That night, he drove back toward Indianapolis, the highway lights blurring past. Maxwell waited for him at their apartment, arms open wide when Leon finally walked through the door. They held each other for a long time without speaking, the weight of the day slowly easing. The following weeks brought more unexpected developments. Lawyers from his uncle's side began sending formal letters questioning the will's validity. Rumors spread through the extended family that Leon had somehow tricked their grandfather in his final days. Old friends from high school reached out curiously, some offering support, others clearly fishing for details. Leon focused on his job, pouring extra effort into client projects to keep his mind steady. Maxwell helped him organize documents and even suggested they meet with a therapist together to process everything. Their relationship deepened through the stress, small acts of care becoming anchors. One weekend, they visited the lake house that was now partly under Leon's control according to the trust. The old wooden dock still creaked underfoot, and the water sparkled under the sun just as Leon remembered, standing there with Maxwell's hand in his. Leon felt a profound sense of peace for the first time in years. But the family pressure continued to build. His father called unexpectedly one evening, voice gruff and demanding. "We need to settle this as a family. Leon, come home so we can discuss the inheritance properly." Leon gripped the phone tightly. "Home? You made it very clear I didn't have one there anymore." The conversation ended in raised voices and another painful silence. Maxwell rubbed his shoulders afterward, reminding him he wasn't alone. Months passed, and the legal challenges intensified. Uncle Richard hired a high-profile attorney known for contesting estates. They claimed Grandpa Harlan had been suffering from early dementia, producing medical records that painted a questionable picture. Leon met with his own lawyer regularly, a sharp woman named Ms. Patel who specialized in trust law. She assured him the will was ironclad, but warned that court battles could drag on for years and drain significant portions of the estate. The stress began affecting Leon's work. He missed deadlines occasionally, his usual creativity dulled by constant worry. His boss noticed and pulled him aside for a concerned conversation. Leon appreciated the support, but hated feeling vulnerable. Maxwell remained his rock through it all. They cooked simple dinners together in their small kitchen, talking late into the night about dreams for the future. One evening, Maxwell surprised him with tickets to a quiet cabin getaway up north, away from phones and lawyers. They hiked through colorful autumn forests, holding hands openly, sitting by a crackling fireplace one night. Maxwell turned to him seriously. "I know this inheritance is complicated, but whatever happens, we have each other. That's what matters most." Leon kissed him softly, grateful beyond words for this man who loved him without reservation. Back in the city, family tensions reached a boiling point during a mandated mediation session. Both sides sat across a long table in a neutral office downtown. His mother looked thinner, his father more gray at the temples. Uncle Richard glared across the room as if Leon were the enemy. The mediator tried to keep things civil, but accusations flew quickly. "You abandoned him when he needed you most," Ms. Patel stated calmly on Leon's behalf. His father shot back. "He chose a lifestyle that goes against everything we believe." Leon listened quietly at first, then spoke up when it was his turn. "I didn't choose to be gay any more than I chose the color of my eyes. I only chose to stop hiding who I am. You chose to turn your backs." The room fell silent for a moment. His mother wiped her eyes again, whispering, "We were scared. Scared of what people would say, what it meant for the family name." Uncle Richard scoffed. "Family name? Look where that got us. Fighting over money like strangers." The mediation ended without resolution, but something shifted in the air. Several cousins approached Leon afterward, apologizing privately for their silence over the years. Sarah hugged him awkwardly, admitting she had missed their childhood bond. Winter arrived with its usual chill in Indianapolis. Leon and Maxwell decorated their apartment modestly for the holidays, choosing a small tree that fit perfectly in the corner. Leon received a Christmas card from his mother with a handwritten note inside. It simply said, "Thinking of you. I'm sorry." He didn't reply immediately, but kept the card on his desk where he could see it daily. The court date for the will contest loomed closer. Leon prepared meticulously with Ms. Patel, gathering statements from Grandpa Harlan's longtime doctor and friends who confirmed his sharp mind until the end. On the morning of the hearing, snow fell gently outside the courthouse. Leon walked up the steps with Maxwell beside him, their breaths visible in the cold air. Inside, the family waited in the hallway, expressions a mix of defiance and exhaustion. The judge listened carefully to both arguments over several hours. Evidence was presented. Witnesses questioned. Leon testified honestly about his relationship with his grandfather and the events following his coming out. When the judge finally ruled in favor of upholding the will, a heavy silence settled over the courtroom. Uncle Richard's face crumpled in defeat. His mother covered her mouth with both hands, tears flowing freely. Outside in the hallway, chaos briefly erupted as family members reacted. But Leon simply stood there, feeling the weight lift slightly from his shoulders. Maxwell squeezed his hand tightly. His father approached slowly afterward, looking older than Leon remembered. "We were wrong, son, about a lot of things." The words came out gruff, but sincere in their own way. Leon nodded, not trusting himself to speak yet. His mother joined them, reaching out tentatively to touch his arm. "Can we try to rebuild? Not for the money. For us." The coming months tested that promise repeatedly. Family dinners were awkward at first, conversations stilted and careful. Old wounds surfaced during arguments, but they worked through them with hesitant honesty. Leon used part of the inheritance wisely, investing in a small marketing agency of his own with Maxwell as creative partner. Their business grew steadily, built on trust and shared vision. They moved into a brighter apartment with a view of the city skyline. One spring afternoon, nearly 2 years after the funeral, Leon invited his parents to visit the new office. His mother admired the clean modern space, while his father asked practical questions about the client list. Later, over coffee, his father cleared his throat. "I've been reading more, talking to people. I still don't understand everything, but I see how happy you are with Maxwell. That's what your grandfather wanted for you." Leon felt tears prick his eyes again, but this time they were different. Healing ones. Maxwell joined them, shaking hands warmly with both parents. The conversation flowed easier than ever before, laughter even breaking out once or twice. As they said goodbye in the parking lot, his mother hugged Leon tightly. "We love you. We always did. We just didn't know how to show it right." Leon hugged her back, the embrace carrying years of pain and forgiveness intertwined. Life continued with its quiet rhythms after that. The business thrived. Leon and Maxwell planned a small commitment ceremony the following summer, inviting close friends and, surprisingly, several family members who accepted, standing on the same lake house dock where he had found peace years earlier. Leon watched the sunset with Maxwell's arm around his waist. The water reflected hues of orange and pink, peaceful and endless. His family had learned their lesson the hard way, through loss and regret. But Leon had learned something deeper, strength born from rejection, love that chose him unconditionally, and the courage to build a future on his own terms. Looking back at the journey from that lonely graveside to this moment of quiet joy, Leon realized the inheritance was never just about money. It was about reclaiming his worth when others tried to diminish it. The commitment ceremony took place on a perfect June day at the lake house. White chairs lined the grassy slope leading down to the water. Friends and selected family members filled the seats, faces warm under the bright sun. Leon stood at the simple wooden arch decorated with fresh flowers, heart full as Maxwell walked toward him. His parents sat in the front row, his mother smiling through happy tears. His father nodded approvingly, a rare softness in his usually stern expression. Uncle Richard had chosen not to attend, still nursing his resentment. But the rest of the family showed up with genuine efforts to make amends. Vows were exchanged with simple, heartfelt words. Leon spoke of resilience and the power of being truly seen. Maxwell talked about patience and the beauty of chosen family. When they exchanged rings, applause rose warmly from the small crowd. Afterward, during the reception on the wide deck, conversations mingled with laughter and clinking glasses. Leon's mother pulled him aside for a quiet moment near the railing. "I'm so proud of the man you've become," she whispered. "I only wish we had been part of it sooner." Leon squeezed her hand. "We're here now. That's what matters." His father joined them shortly after, handing Leon a small envelope. "It's not much compared to what your grandfather left, but it's from us, for your future together." Inside was a generous check and a note expressing their support. The evening wound down with dancing under string lights, the lake shimmering in the background. Leon and Maxwell swayed slowly to a soft song, foreheads touching. In that moment, everything felt right. Months later, as their business continued to expand, Leon reflected often on the path that brought him here. From the shock of disownment to the painful isolation, through the unexpected windfall and the hard-fought legal battles, to eventual reconciliation, he had built a life filled with purpose and love. Maxwell's presence made every challenge worthwhile. His family, though imperfect, was trying, and Grandpa Harlan's belief in him lived on through every decision he made. One crisp autumn evening, while sitting on their balcony overlooking the city, Maxwell asked him a thoughtful question. If you could go back and change how it all started, would you? Leon considered it carefully, watching the lights twinkle below. No. The pain taught me who I really am, and it led me to you, to this life. I wouldn't trade that. They sat in comfortable silence after that, hands intertwined. The inheritance money had been used to create stability, fund community programs supporting LGBTQ youth, and secure their shared dreams. Leon often spoke at local events, sharing his story to help others facing similar rejections. His family attended one such event quietly in the back row. Afterward, his father approached with a humble admission. "You've done more good with this than we ever could have. I see that now." Healing wasn't linear or complete, but it was real. Scars remained, yet they no longer defined every interaction. As winter approached again, Leon and Maxwell planned a trip back to Chicago for the holidays. This time, it felt like coming home on his own terms. Looking at the man beside him, Leon felt profound gratitude for the journey. From being cast out for loving authentically, to standing tall with the support of those who mattered most. True family, he realized, wasn't about perfection or agreement on everything. It was about showing up, learning, and choosing love even when it was hard. In the end, the money served its purpose. But the real treasure was the strength he discovered within himself and the love he refused to hide. Is it true that blood is always thicker than water? Or can chosen love and personal integrity create stronger bonds than birthright ever could?